Oh, here we come, nerdy world where we're from. Retro logo leads the way. In the night to yesterday, all the nerds come out to play. She's the light, won't go away.
Hey,
Retro girl, retro nerd girl.
retro nerd girl.
Hey, hi everybody.
How you doing?
Oh, I'm doing really good. I'm really excited about our chat today.
Nice,
All
we are
right,
too. Thank you for
all
coming.
right.
Thank you for giving the
Yeah,
time.
Yes, thank
my
you so
pleasure.
much. Yeah, I don't get a lot of time on Fridays to do stuff like this, and but I had to squeeze this in because, like I
Uh,
said, I've been wanting to talk to you a very long time, especially about the Terminator franchise and stuff like
yes.
that. So yeah, we are definitely gonna dive into that.
Okay.
We just want to ask you a few questions about your journey,
hmm
how you got here, where Retro Nerd Girl came from, all that good stuff. So my first question to you is, when did you first discover your love of cinema?
I would say when I was a kid, and basically it's through my mom taking me to the movies and just us bonding from that experience. And when the movies came out, you know, we'd see them in the theater, but then she would buy the VHS tapes, and then we'd watch them together, and we'd be like, okay, what do we want to watch this weekend? And we're like, oh, Star Wars again, and then we'll watch Star Wars again.
Mm,
Mostly
okay.
Empire Strikes Back. So yeah, we watched. We spent a lot of weekends hanging out together watching movies, and I also had sort of like I was always a night owl. So I
Okay.
would stay up late and watch all of the movies that were playing at night, and they were
Same.
often like low budget, really fun movies, or some sort of catch like a really good movie. But I fell in love with low budget movies too, and that was also and old movies, old very old movies. So that was also something that kind of came about when I was a kid, and I didn't really realize I wanted to do anything with that particular field until later when I started writing stories, and they're really like were personal, and they still are because I haven't done anything with them, but I've always wanted to do a project with them, but I wanted to know what makes a story great. And I went into this kind of journey to look at a lot of different movies, especially sci-fi movies, because that's the genre I was writing in, and just trying to figure out like, okay, why does this movie work so well, and why didn't this movie work so well? So that's kind of the things that I'm exploring too on my channel.
Okay. All
You
right. Very.
dissect a lot of those movies. Basically,
Yeah.
you go deep.
Yeah, I really try to see also if there are other like psychological or social reasons why filmmakers did certain things in
Okay.
the movies, and or
Nice.
books that they're from, and just like the influences, also like any subtle character choices or facial expressions that are like micro expressions, to see kind of what those characters are thinking at that moment, what they must be experiencing, and why why we love certain characters, why do they touch us more than maybe other characters do. So
Hmm.
that was something I was very much interested in, in exploring. So that was a lot of fun for me. I have been doing it for a while now.
All right. All right. Cool.
Mhm.
And yeah, that actually leads right into my other question. You obviously you love reviewing old movies
Yes,
from pretty much any era.
yes,
I've seen what Rollerball, you've done everything from that,
yes.
you've done Terminator, you've done, oh my goodness, a whole lot of them. Would you say now sci-fi is your favorite genre,
Yes,
right?
yes,
Sci-fi is your
yes.
favorite. Would you have a favorite old, what is your like your, I mean, other than the Terminator,
hmm
what is your oldest, like your oldest sci-fi favorite movie that you can think of?
Metropolis. Uh,
the
yeah,
original, right?
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
When did that
Actually,
one come
haven't.
out? When did that one come
I
out?
believe it was 1929 or
Oh,
27. I keep
so almost
getting it
100
mixed up.
years.
Yes, yes,
Yeah.
yes. I keep
Yeah.
getting those two numbers mixed up, but it's just an epic movie. I suppose the very first one was definitely I believe 1907 movie. It was really short. That was
Mhm.
the man on the moon or something. A trip to the moon. Trip to the moon, and it is
Mhm.
really a beautiful little short film. But these movies, they did not have any of the technology we had today, and they
No.
were really creating the stuff. They were creating the things that people would use later on to develop special effects until we, finally came to the coup de grace of CGI, and we're still kind of in awe of those movies because we're like, that didn't look bad. There were some of them
Mhm.
that looked really, really good. And so there might be a way for us to incorporate CGI and practical effects and visual effects to create a story that looks good.
Yeah. All right. All right. Phil.
No, I'm good.
Yeah.
What's the next
All
one?
right.
My question.
All
Yeah,
right.
I also, I'll add too that I was also fascinated by how they made the films too, not just the storytelling part, but also the nuts and bolts of filmmaking, which I think is very fascinating.
Okay. Yeah.
That's something also that is missing nowadays, like the
Mhm.
practical effects, like a puppeteer, stuff like that. Because
Mhm.
nowadays we rely too much on technology,
Yeah.
and like for instance, Beetlejuice is coming out now. Like
Yeah,
they went old school right there, and
I can't wait
based
to
on the
see that.
reviews,
Yeah.
it's crazy, you know.
Yeah.
Yes, and I heard that Alien Romulus kind of develops, has a lot of practical stuff in there
Hmm.
that people enjoyed in the theater. So, once I haven't been able to see it, but if when I do, I definitely want to check that out.
Absolutely. Yes, it was really good. He did some pretty well connected callbacks.
Oh,
He
cool.
did. It was something else. So, yep. All right. And I wanted also to ask you your love for Zack Snyder. When did he hit your
Oh.
radar? When did he first draw you in?
She's
Yep.
blushing.
Well, yeah, I mean, Zack Snyder, I didn't really know about him until people started asking about his work later on, and I was like, "Oh, so that's the guy who did all those movies I like." And so, I think the first one that I had ever, seen was the Watchmen movie. Actually, the Dawn of the Dead remake he did. I
Mhm.
did see that, but uh, zombies is not my genre, so I was like dying when I
Yeah.
was watching. I was like, "Oh, please get
Yeah.
me out of this movie," because I don't like zombie movies, but there are a few zombie movies that I could tolerate. And that's just because they creep me out so much. Um, but I did watch. I was on a date actually, and my date took me
Mhm.
to see Watchmen, and I was
Nice.
like in love with what I was seeing. It was just fantastic. Everything about that movie was just intoxicating and just incredible. And um, I don't think I'd seen 300 yet, but I saw 300. I didn't know who the director was.
Mhm.
Another like, oh my god, this is incredible. What am I
Mhm.
looking at? This is fantastic. And then I think it was the movie. It wasn't Man of Steel, but it was um Batman v Superman. That's the one where I
Yes.
finally figured out like
Mhm.
who this was, and I was like,
Mhm.
oh, that's the guy. Oh, okay. And I didn't like the theatrical very much. As it was okay, but I had a lot of problems with it. But when I
Hmm.
saw the Ultimate Edition, it all clicked and was in place, and I was like, "Yeah, this is great. Why didn't they
Yeah.
release this?" And
Yeah.
so I kind of forgot about him for a while until the Justice League movie came out, and there was a lot of
Hmm.
hoopla around that. And the main thing I kind of put everything out of my mind that was going on, except for the mustache gate. And I was like, Mustache
Uh,
Gate was like happening. I was like, what's going on with this movie? Then I was like, okay, well, it's a superhero movie. I'm sure I'm going to enjoy it. So I actually bought it, which I really wish I could get my money back for that.
oh my
Same,
goodness.
same.
You bought Justice League too?
Yes, I
Oh
fell for the.
I
man.
bought, but I have the digital. I don't have physical media. I have the
Yeah,
digital.
I have
And I
a
went to and I
digital.
saw it 4 times in the theater, trying to digest, like trying
Is
to
this really what I'm
figure
looking
out
at? Yes.
why, where am I? What there's? I knew there was something wrong. That's why I had to watch it many times to find what the f
Hmm.
is going on here. This is not,
Yeah.
But that's
Yeah.
how
I
much of a fan we are. We are. We buy the physicals.
yeah.
We pay for the product.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I bought the digital, and I saw it, and I was kind of looking at it like, this is a hot mess, but I see some glimmers of greatness in this. I was like, oh, well, we got some awesome little pieces here.
Hmm.
And so then I kept seeing it. At the time, I was really, and I still watch these guys. I was watching Robert Meyer Burnett. I was watching John Campia. I was watching Grace Randolph. And every once in a while, somebody would come on and ask them a question. Hey, do you think the Justice League, Zack Snyder is has got a copy of it or something? We've heard some news about it, and do you think
You're referring to the Snyder Cut.
yeah, the Snyder Cut.
Okay.
And so it was like at the time it wasn't called the Snyder Cut, but it was just like that people were asking
Right.
about
Right.
the
Yeah.
possibility. And then it became the Snyder Cut. And I was like, okay, as a movie lover, somebody who really values movies, all movies, even movies I don't like,
Hmm.
I will fight for a movie I don't like, because movies are what I would call, to borrow a term from Galaxy Quest, historical documents. They really,
Yes,
yes, and
That's
I
they
exactly
agree.
what
are,
they are.
yeah,
Yeah.
they are moments, snapshots in time in which we are able to capture social climate. We're able to capture fashion, with technology, all sorts of influences
Part
to
of
that
history
movie. Yeah,
also, like a
yeah,
lot of
Absolutely.
because we were talking last episode about Ridley Scott because of the
yes.
alien Romulus, and I like Ridley because he does a lot of biofilms. You got
Mm,
the Gladiator, Kingdom of Heaven, Black Hawk Down,
mhm.
GI. So that type of subgenre I love.
Yeah,
So
Hmm.
yeah, that's what you said. It's history.
yeah,
Yeah.
and they should not be tossed aside or forgotten. Many
Yeah.
times they're pieces of art, and not
Mhm.
every movie is art, but
That's very well put.
eh, yeah.
That's actually beautifully said because I mean you collect, I find myself looking at my physical media all the
Hmm.
time. I just pass by the shelves and I'm just looking at all of this and I'm just like, one day this may not be here.
Yes.
You know what I mean? When I'm
Yes.
long gone, it may be gone. And I just um the fact that you can just say, you know what, we're gonna turn everything digital, we're gonna turn everything into
Exactly.
computers, you can turn, it's not the same thing. That
Yeah.
that feeling that you get when you I don't know, I'm 51,
Hmm.
so that feeling that I got
Yeah.
when we would go to Blockbuster to rent a movie, you
Exactly.
get to peruse the
Oh, dude.
shelves and you
Yeah.
get to, you know what I mean? There was real thought and real
That
effort
was
put into what you wanted to watch when you wanted to watch it. And now it's just like you get your remote and you just
people of this generation, Gen Z, will never understand what it is to go to a blockbuster video store
Mhm.
and
Yeah.
just like you said, just browse and take your time. It
Mhm.
wasn't like a
Mhm.
quick, like, okay, we're gonna get in quick and grab them. No, go aisle by aisle and and think and
Yeah.
process.
Mhm.
Like, okay, what do I want to watch?
It
Yeah.
made you
What
make a
movie
choice. It
it made
made you make a
think?
decision about what
Yes,
you really wanted to watch, not just flicking on the TV and seeing what was there. It
Yeah.
made you focus on what you wanted. And yeah, that
Well,
time has come and gone.
well, what I do love is that, then you could also like see something interesting, a weird looking cover of a movie, and you'd go, oh, I don't have time to watch it this week. I'll catch it next week.
Hmm.
And it's one of those things like you were shopping for the weekend, maybe it was the weekend, but you were also like that movie over there. It's a weird title. I'll never, it's not really my thing. Let me pick
Hmm.
it up and see what it's at. And there was a lot of
Yeah,
experimenting, and
exactly.
you could discover like, okay, I was drawn in by the cover, but it is a Canon film, so it's so totally weird.
And that was
So,
exactly how I was drawn into physical media.
mhm,
Younger, when I started collecting, VHS, then moving on to
yeah,
DVDs.
yeah,
But I would. That's how it started. I would see
yeah,
something, something that I might not watch. It might be in a genre that I liked. Oh, let's see what it's like.
yeah,
Hey, I ended up liking that. Next thing you know, I'm trying to actually find that movie on physical media and add it to my library. So,
yeah.
yeah.
Well, I mean, to go back to the Zack Snyder love, and why I kind of felt like I was hearing a lot of people say, "Hey, I don't think Hollywood doesn't work that way. We're never gonna get that Snyder cut." I was like, "Why not? Why
Hmm.
can't we get, with all the technology we have today? Why can't we have that cut?" And maybe it's only for a couple of million people. Let us have that, that cool little movie. And
Yeah.
so, and I was willing to pay for it. I was willing to put down, a couple of, $20 on it, or maybe more. So
Hmm.
when it was finally announced that it was a real thing, and that it was actually coming, I was like, Zach, you did it. That's how I became like a
Finally.
real fan, was the fact that he did it. And
Hmm.
and he was really responsible for pushing this, because he could have been, and we've seen other directors kind of like, oh, no, 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 I'll wait, I don't really need to do this. He was really teasing the audience and really saying like, hey, yeah, I got a copy of the Snyder cut, and showing people the cut, and people coming out saying that they'd seen the cut. It was great
Yeah.
marketing. And the way he kind of announced it with that Vero, um, and kind of doing a
the
watch
watch
along.
along with the Man of Steel watch
That was
along.
genius. That was genius. And
Yes.
I saw that. I saw that live, and it was like, it was incredible
Oh,
when
you
I
did. Oh,
saw.
you were. Oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
awesome.
I When I saw Henry Cavill there, I was like, what's about to go down? And because I
Hmm.
had been following, at that point, I was following Henry Cavill very closely, to see what was going to happen, because I was like, okay, what's going to happen here? And Henry was really good, like really chill. And then they announced it. It was wonderful. It was wonderful. And so many people who were saying, no way, this is never going to work, they were also very excited. I was very surprised. I was
Yeah.
like, oh, like, they like did literally had to like dislodge their foot out of their mouths for saying that, oh, it
Well,
will
Hmm.
never
a
happen.
lot of like, for instance, YouTubers. Obviously, we know that not all of them, but some of them are on the
Mhm.
payroll, so they have to play ball with the studios.
Yeah,
So it is what it is. But the ones
yeah,
that are not on the payroll, like for us, like for instance, we were like ecstatic, like happy
Yeah,
and ready to go, but
yeah.
I get it, it
I,
is what it is, they got
I
to pay
think
bills somehow. So
yeah, I think initially, when the news broke, I think everybody kind of it was almost this really incredible outpouring of like love and happiness, and people were just really jubilant, even the naysayers. And so
Mhm.
they were like, "Oh yeah, we apologize, we got it wrong," and it was so much great feeling around Zack Snyder and what he was doing, and then. Um, it came out and it was wonderful. It was wonderful.
mm.
I don't know if you experienced this, but at the first day, the system crashed and nobody could get on there.
Yeah,
Um,
Mm.
I had
I didn't experience that. I got on just fine, but I
Yeah, me too.
mean, I can tell you
I had
this.
problems
So yeah,
with getting
I
as
had
on.
far
problems with
as
the Mandalorian when the
yeah,
Mandalorian came out.
yeah,
I had issues
yeah,
with that, but not with
Mandalorian it was,
Justice
yeah.
League,
But
not
with
with JJ.
Justice League, I did. When I that's my favorite movie. If that's of any superhero movie, that's my favorite movie. His of all time. I love that movie. And
Hmm.
it just spoke to me in ways that I thought that it wouldn't. After I saw the movie, I experienced two emotions, and I think I told Phil this, but I was ecstatic. Obviously, I was happy that I got it,
Yeah.
and it was like the best thing that I ever saw. And immediately following that, anger. Anger
Oh,
about
you weren't
what
alone on
happened
that
to
one.
Zach. Anger about the fact that they just said, okay, fine, here's your one and done. Anger at the
Well,
fact
yeah,
that,
that was
and it was just
yeah,
like,
yeah.
what's going
That was
on? And that's what started me. That started my journey. That started let me find YouTubers who feel the same way as me,
mhm,
who's championing for this movie
yeah.
to continue, for this saga to continue. And
Mhm.
that's how I ended up here.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think generally, like the first couple of days when I believe it Susan or there was somebody, can't remember her name anymore, but somebody came out and said, "Oh no, we're not gonna continue."
Oh, and
Initially,
Sarnoff
and so, yes, and
Yeah.
Yeah,
yes,
And
yeah.
Sarnoff.
sorry, I got her name.
And
She
Spartacus, as we used to call her.
Forgettable. Hmm.
Yikes. And then the people were a little bit there were some people who actually spoke up and said, this is ridiculous. You guys finally released something decent and then you're saying you're not going to get any more. What
It,
about
it
Superman?
didn't it didn't
What
make
about
business it didn't make business sense, but we
yeah,
know why they said they try to shut it off. It was all about ego, and that's what
yeah,
it was.
yeah,
Yeah.
We had this chat last episode. We showed the
hmm,
numbers
yeah,
that when ZSJL released, their stock went through the freaking roof. It was in an all-time high, and when they
mhm,
said no, we're not going to continue,
yeah,
you know. And that's another thing I also wanted to mention. You're um um a cinema fan also, like my
mhm,
partner in crime here. One thing that is going to happen, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's already happening, they are going to grab Justice League
mhm.
and Zack Snyder's Justice League, and they're going to do a case study for all future filmmakers
Oh,
to
yes,
see
I hope so.
what to do, what
Yeah,
not to do when you
Hmm.
do not let the creator finish his story.
yeah.
Regardless if it's DC comics, it doesn't matter. This can be interpreted on any other genre.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, there's a clear. I mean, people were doing all sorts of different breakdowns and studies on it, and it was fantastic. I was like loving it because it was like, wow, yeah. And that is exactly how I was feeling when I was watching the movie because it was just so incredible. Everybody, just Cyborg's storyline alone is just incredible.
Epic.
He didn't
Mm.
have a storyline in the theatrical, and he looked like a fool. I mean, he didn't look he just looked like he was just a back guy just hanging out with the team. Didn't really look like he belonged there, and
Yeah.
so did the Flash, and it
Mm.
was really really upsetting to see the difference in filmmaking. I'm like, wow, this not only that, taking someone's idea, someone's passion for the last
Art.
2,
Their art.
3 years. Yeah, their hard work, and then switching it around and reorganizing it, basically rewriting the film in many
Mhm.
cases and places, and in order to insert things that were very um, dumb is the only word I could think of. There were like some
Yeah.
things that I was like, wow, this is dumb. And then also to have Cavill reshoot lines and in a scene in which could easily have had his back to the camera, but they wanted to show his face. They wanted to show this weird smile. They
They
wanted to
wanted him.
show,
They wanted to humiliate him. That was the whole idea. They wanted to kill the DCEU,
hmm,
and a way to do it is to like make a Superman so hideous that people, us the audience, are going to like despise forever.
yeah,
It didn't
yeah.
work because the Snyder Cut came out, and long and behold, you know,
Yeah.
I will say,
Zack Snyder brought us a modern era Superman in Henry
yeah,
Cavill.
Yes, he
yes.
did. I got both steelbook cuts and and the regular 4K cut. Yeah.
Nice.
Mhm.
So
Yeah, it
I
looks really
absolutely
great.
love that movie.
Um,
It's epic.
what they
It's epic. So yeah,
Yes. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep. And what they did with the Flash's story, every time I get to the part at the end where Flash, stops everything, and I just start
Hmm.
crying. I'm like, this is a character that really meant nothing in the story, and he saves everybody,
Hmm.
and it just was like,
Exactly. That's why
wow.
I'm always that guy is. I mean, he's the MVP. That's he is
Hmm.
what he is, man. And that was just that was his moment. And
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
and you know, Zach made sure that every single one of those characters had their moment.
Yeah.
How can you
Yeah. It was
possibly do that in an
wonderful.
hour and a half telling jokes?
Yeah.
How? You
It
Yeah.
know?
was great. It was great. And uh, you know, the struggle afterwards was just watching a lot of channels completely turn on the idea of moving on because and started talking about moving on, like, okay, that's not going to happen anymore, so let's move on. And we're like, wait a minute, what are you talking about? We just got the Snyder cut. What are you talking about, move on? Well, like, and there
Hmm.
were a lot of people that were upset that the fans got what they wanted, and
Yeah.
were saying, hey, the fans were toxic because they wanted a cut of the movie, and that the fans didn't deserve that cut of the movie. Which fans are you talking about? Because I'm a fan, but I'm a casual fan. I didn't even tweet once.
Hmm.
I deserve that cut of the movie, and everybody else does too.
And
That
even you
worked
said it like you
hard.
were willing to pay for it. Like a
I
lot of us, we were willing
was.
to pay for it. If we had to pay, if they would have charged, I don't know, $50 a ticket to go to the theaters, I would have paid it happily.
Yeah,
And to this day, if they have to pay extra, we have to pay a premium to get 2 and 3,
yeah.
I'll pay it happily. You
Well,
know?
Hmm.
I mean, I do have a digital copy of the movie, which I also think that they flubbed that up too, because I have a digital copy of the movie. I also have a hard copy of the movie.
Okay.
So I've paid. If you add it all up, how much
You've
money did
added
I
all up, yeah.
spend?
And that's without counting all
Including,
the merch or the comics or the statues or whatever.
yeah. So,
Yeah.
I mean, just for that movie, I spent quite a bit of money, just so that way I could have that for myself. And I'm sure everyone, in your audience has spent a lot more on a lot more stuff. I'm very casual with
Yeah.
my fandoms, but
Yeah.
it is very frustrating to know that someone who is a fan can be in this day and age considered toxic just by association, just because you hold an idea, and just because you say, hey, I think I have a problem with the thing that you released. And it's like, you're toxic. How dare you?
Yep.
Toxic. So
Yeah.
it's like,
Yep.
it's really, it's really counterintuitive. And instead of listening to fans who can actually
Not
help
just not
guide
just the
you.
fans, your consumers.
Yeah,
Because at the end of the day, studios are a business. If your audience is telling you we don't want this, we don't like this, please do it this way or that way. Like, if I'm a business, I'm going to listen to feedback because it's only going to make me more money.
Oh yeah, like I mean, even like on my channel, when people say things, I listen to them, and and I don't have a multi-million-dollar company, so it'd be really great if they're looking at a lot of these things that you and I consider historical documents as product, and
I
that's
like
a
the way you say
huge.
historical documents. We're gonna start using that.
Just make sure you give me credit.
I will, Retro. I will.
But they're really important, and so like when you take these things and you treat them like product, well, you're not going to care about it. Like, what do you do with the product? You sell it, and when it no longer sells, you come up with reasons why it doesn't sell anymore, or you like discard it and say, okay, well, we're going to make it new and improved. It's usually always messed up when you.
Exactly.
They usually
Exactly.
stop using the same formula or change it up somehow, and so
Yeah.
there's a lot of issues and problems in Hollywood right now, and that stuff was going on in like 2019. It was happening earlier, but we're starting to see even more of it now, and a lot of the stuff that we're seeing online, as far as talking about fans and referring to them always as toxic. I'm
Mhm.
so tired of that. Yes, you do have some people who take things a little too far.
Yep.
There are some people who can't separate actors from their
The
characters.
characters.
Yeah, they can't separate studio decisions from like the actual like you don't go to a studio head and threaten their life, like that kind of thing. They've lost the ability there's always going to be a couple people who do that. A couple people will take it in their own hands to review bomb something. That is
Yeah.
not the entire fandom. That's just one or two people, maybe three, maybe 100 out of
There's always
millions,
gonna
out of
there's
millions of
always gonna
people
be there's always
Yeah.
going to be toxic fandoms everywhere,
everywhere.
Yep.
like even up to this day, Kiefer Sutherland still gets tarnished by his character Ace from Stand By Me. Like, he would say people
Oh, really?
don't
Oh,
like me
yeah.
because of Ace. I'm like, what? Like, you're just an actor. You played a character. They hate you
Yeah.
because of that character.
Yeah.
Come on, man.
There's some people
Crazy.
who just can't let go of things like that. But it unfortunately, that is a reality for us to face. But again,
Yep.
don't put entire fandoms into that toxic realm, because that makes everybody upset. Because we know, and you know your activities. I know my activities. I know, like, most of the people that are around me don't do the things that they're claiming that fans are doing, and so and they don't even have time. Most of us have jobs, we have families. Like, we don't
No
have
life.
time to go. Yeah, we don't have the
Yeah.
time to do the things that they're saying that we're doing, and so
Mhm.
it's just frustrating. I mean, we got definitely Star Wars, Star Trek, anything Disney. It's just like full of this talk about how fans themselves are just toxic. It's not true. And not every
Yeah.
fan is toxic. And stop putting all of the fans in one bucket.
Thank you.
Exactly. Exactly.
Thank you.
Hopefully they'll learn their lesson.